One man, one mission to rid the world of chronic anxiety once and for all. The anxiety guy, Dennis Simsek, shares his personal transformation from living a life filled with overwhelming worry to becoming a full-fledged positivity machine. A leading authority in generalized anxiety, Dennis gets to the truth of your mental health challenges and sets you on a path to transforming each and every area of your life. Here he is, the one and only, the anxiety guy.
Warriors, welcome to episode number 309. This is Dennis Simsek. You're listening to the Anxiety Guy podcast, and today we have a very special episode with a very good friend of mine, and I'm very, very excited. We're going to talk to her in a second. We're talking about Ashley Eversole, who is a recent author who has recently published the book Reclaiming Identity. I absolutely love that title. She's a life coach, she's an anxiety coach, she's a motivator, she's an inspirer, and she's an overall amazing human being. You know, we are privileged today. I feel privileged to have her on the show so that she can fill us with her own experience, suffering, and as a coach. And I'm really excited. Ashley, welcome.
Thank you so much, man. That introduction just makes me smile
You
ear
like
to
that?
ear. I absolutely. You've always been one of my big mentors. I've always looked up to you. So to hear you say those words is just absolutely amazing.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love it. Just being in your presence fills me with a sense of warmth, just so you know. Even though we're miles apart, I'm in Bali, you're in the States, but I just wanted you to know that.
Thank you, man. Like
Oh,
I said, it's truly it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today.
awesome. And what I want to do is I want to do a few more of these types of interviews, especially with people who have gotten to this stage where you are taking the experiences that you went through, not only with anxiety, but all sorts of other things that you dealt with, and now coming into your own, fulfilling a purpose, a mission. So tell me this. Take us back to those days when you were suffering. What was it like going through your mind, body, spirit, waking up in the morning, going to sleep at night? Give us a glimpse into your world when you were suffering.
Starting early in the morning, I would either wake up in the middle of the night with panic attacks and racing heart and breathing fast and all that kind of stuff, and wake myself up and not be able to go back to sleep. And if I did happen to sleep through the whole night, I'd wake up and start immediately thinking like, oh, another day. I have to go through with anxiety, or I'd be questioning myself like, is the anxiety here? And how much anxiety am I going to get? Like, am I going to be able to go and do this? Like, even step outside my door without freaking out, or walk to my niece and nephew's house 500 feet away, um, and not have a panic attack just walking through the yard to somebody else's house. Um, every day was a constant struggle and a battle for me. And early on, it wasn't as bad, but as I kept avoiding more and more, then that was the less that I was able to do, because I just kept avoiding everything. So I wasn't going out anywhere. I wasn't doing anything. Getting a shower was a task. Walking down the road was a task, and I not dare take a drive anywhere. Um, so every day was just a constant battle, and I was always nauseated
Mm,
and always felt lightheaded and
mm,
all of those things. And I always thought that there was something more wrong with me. Like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And constantly going to the doctors and questioning everybody under the sun. And nobody in my family ever experienced this type of thing. So nobody even really knew how to help me, or what was going on. Everybody just knew, like, okay, she's seriously not physically ill or anything like that, because she's been to the doctor. She's not. There's nothing physically wrong with her.
how
Um,
long did this go
but
on
day in
for?
and day, um, probably over 5, 6 years.
Straight, pretty much.
Um, yeah, because I did have some depression whenever I was younger. in my early teens and things like that. So whether I had some anxiety back then and it just like erupted all at the same time where it became like so severe that, like I said, there was no life for me to live anymore at that point. I had no purpose. I had no mission. Like you said at the beginning of this intro, where now it's a completely different feeling. Back then, I didn't have any of that. It was just dreading each and every day from waking up to going to bed. It was the same thing.
Right. So are you sure, not are you sure, but it started off as being a sensitivity towards external things, possibly, I'm guessing. And then you started to feel very sensitized to the things that you may feel if you were in contact with those things. So, was it more external that you were afraid of, or was it the feeling or the anxiousness and the fear itself on the inside? What was the biggest fear?
Um, I would say internally, I was because I was constantly sick,
Mm.
or I constantly felt like I was sick. Those symptoms and sensations that you talk about and I talk about with clients and such. It's just these bodily sensations that you almost then become scared of. When is the next panic attack, or when is the next symptom or next sensation going to come on? That you just dwindle down everything that you do, that you just don't do anything. You might as well just sit in the corner because you're just afraid of like being in your own body or what's going to happen next. It's always the what if statements that constantly repeat themselves over and over in your head.
Let's see. Tell me this. When did you realize that you stopped treating the symptom and you started to treat the root causes of it? Do you remember those moments when that transition was happening?
Yeah, honestly, it was with you.
Oh, cool.
I one day was just because I tried every herbal medicine and every vitamin that there could be and everything that I read on the internet, like, oh, this can help or oh, that can help. And I had everything, a cupboard full of crap.
Mm,
Nothing was working. And if it did work, like I had some kind of like symptom to it. And like I never went on any medication or anything, not knocking medication whatsoever. It helps some people. Um, but I don't do well with medication, and my doctor knows that. So, anyhow, one day I was sitting on my bed in my bedroom and
mm.
I started Googling because I heard about meditation being able to calm you. So, I started Googling and going on YouTube and looking up meditation. I happened to run across yours
Yay.
and I listened to, yes, and I listened to it and I just immediately felt relaxed. Like for the first time in I couldn't tell you how long. I just felt relaxed.
Mm.
So I was like, man, I got to find out more about this guy. So I put in directly your name in the search engine or whatever, listen to video after video. I mean, this is, I think, back when you first started. So you didn't have thousands and hundreds and whatever videos out there. So
Sure.
I literally listened to like every video that you had, all the meditation things that you had on there.
Mm.
And then you were doing lives and such like that. So I attended every live that you had. Every time that there was a notification of, I'm like, I'm going, no matter what I'm doing.
Wow.
Like I'm freaking attending that thing. So I just completely fell in love with you and what you were doing for the world. That I then unfortunately, I couldn't myself because I was not able to really work at the time either. Obviously, I couldn't leave my house.
Mm.
So I didn't have that much income, anything like that. So I was graduating from cyber school with my bachelor's degree. And I asked my mother and sister because they were talking about getting me something for my graduation because I could not attend my graduation because it was in another state. Obviously, I'm not traveling anywhere. Um, I asked them for my gift if they would buy me a session with you.
Mm. Mm-hmm. I
And so
remember
they bought me
that.
a session. I remember my sister texted me and be like, "Hey, me and mom got you and he's going to be contacting you." And I seriously just started bawling, like crying and because I was so happy. So then I had my first session with you, and my life seriously changed since then. Like our conversation, like I just took that so much to heart and was laser focused on everything that you were saying, because I was just in that state that everybody has to be in whenever they're on their recovery journey, that relentlessness, like digging down deep and finding that courage of like, I've absolutely had enough of this. I'm totally over it and I'm doing this. Like, so that's what I did. I took that hour conversation with you and I took notes and intensely listened to you. And then I just researched on everything that you taught me, like, so I could find out more.
Sure.
Like, okay, he said this, so how can I do this and this and this? I remember about talking about making a vision board. I made a vision board, and I think I sent you actually a picture of me beside my vision board after I made it.
It was a good one.
And so I mean, it honestly, it all started with you, because there was just a snowball effect after that that I'm totally grateful for.
Do you think that because relentlessness seems to be one of the most important keys to not only your healing, but let's call it healed from something, and then moving towards a place of writing a book and hopefully being a an amazing author and many books to come. But does everybody have this relentlessness within them? Do you believe that? Do you believe that they have the potential to be relentless? And do you think that's a very important part of healing?
I do, and I believe that digging down deep, everybody has relentlessness and has the courage within them, like not outside. You're not going to find it from somebody else. Like Dennis couldn't give me courage. Dennis couldn't give me relentlessness, but he could. I brought that to the table myself, and he gave me the building steps and the tools, the skills, the techniques, the teachings to get me to keep moving forward. Keep that, but you got to keep that momentum up on your own. But yes, you have the courage, you have the relentlessness, you can do it.
You- When did you realize that you kind of crossed the line away from that world of sensitivity and doubt and anxiousness, and you started to move yourself towards more of a place of inner peace? Do you remember the moment that happened? Were you in the kitchen? Were you walking somewhere and this epiphany just showed up? Do you remember that moment?
It's as a slow progress. It all came together for me as I introduced myself to going back into the stores, driving to stores. Every experience got better and better and better every time that I did it. And I did like a hierarchy approach, where I went to a gas station and then I went to a store and then I went to the mall. And I remember taking a picture of myself in the middle of the mall, because that for me was just amazing. And then not long after that, after practicing that a few times, not long, I'm going to a Pirate game, which is our home baseball. So I'm going to a big stadium with a lot of people. And yes, did I feel a little anxious in those moments? Yeah, absolutely I did. But as I kept moving forward, that's when I realized, like, I got this.
Happening.
Like I kept building off my own momentum and kept building off of my own wins. Because that's another big thing. Celebrate your win, whether it's big or it's small. Celebrate it, because you're worth it and you're doing the work.
Tell me this. Notice within you the times when you were really deeply suffering, and then I want you to notice some of the times when you're kind of healing suffering. A lot of people think that healing is this white light that appears, and all of a sudden I'm floating around and I don't feel any fear or any of these ideas or whatever it is. Tell me about those two different types of suffering, let's call it. The one where you're in fear, deep sensitivity, trauma playing out in the present moment, all that stuff, avoiding everything. And then the suffering that takes place when you're actually transitioning from who you used to be to who you want to be. Eh, Tell me about those two. Tell me about the differences if you can.
Um, whenever you were just describing that question, two words came to mind, and that was no longer feeling hopeless and helpless. When you're on your transition, I no longer felt hopeless or helpless. I took it as another opportunity because I might have been, yeah, those situations I was very uncomfortable in. Yes, I still felt like I was suffering a bit, but I no longer felt hopeless or helpless. I felt like I was working towards something and I was progressing and I was getting better. I was helping myself. So going from feeling like I should be shoved in a dark corner to I'm out here doing this crap. Like I'm doing it. I'm making it work for me and I'm progressing. And that's the most important part. Is it uncomfortable? Absolutely it's uncomfortable. Did I still have anxiety? Absolutely I had anxiety. But the difference is I no longer felt helpless. I no longer felt hopeless. Like I knew that I was working towards it.
You have this attitude within you that is like, if I'm gonna do something, it's gonna get done. I know that about you, and I think everybody's picking up on that by listening to this. Um, would that be true? You know, I dedicate myself. I see the goal. It's in front of me. I'm gonna get it no matter what happens. Is that you?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's something that I want, then yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
And that's one of those characteristics that people either have to tap into to say, you know what, I had this when I was a kid, I lost it. Or I had this when I was a teen, or I had this in my young adulthood. I had this, I lost it because of all the self doubt and the programming I went through. But I can get that back. Um, that's important, isn't it? I mean, we talked about relentlessness, but this idea of, hey, you know, number one priority is going to be this right here.
Yeah, it absolutely is important. People's beliefs and what they were taught as they were growing up has a big impact on what they need to tap into on their healing journey because everybody's different. Everybody's going to heal differently and at different paces and in different ways.
Mm.
Um, because everybody grew up in a different way. Everybody was taught a different thing. So, yeah, more some people have to, when I first started on my journey, yeah, I knew that I wanted this to happen, but building that momentum and keeping myself moving and celebrating my wins was extremely helpful for me to keep a hold of that relentlessness
Mm.
and not feel like, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. You just got to I'm freaking doing this.
Mm.
Like, just get out there and do it.
In my own journey, I don't know about you, but in my own journey, I said, okay, it's time to get out of this black hole and it's time to go somewhere else and become somebody different. And there I was going about my days. Yes, I'm committed to the skill sets and the mindsets. And then I would encounter one person who kind of either consciously or unconsciously wanted me to stay how I was before because they liked the familiarity of it. They liked the bond, the rapport that we had back in the day. All of a sudden, what would happen to me was I would start to consider the fact that I do need to stay in that old place of fear and that I didn't have the ability to move forward. How did other people react to your identity shift? You know, family, friends, was everybody on board, or were there a few people that you could sense? Maybe they didn't say anything, but maybe you sensed that they like the old you.
Um, Honestly, I can say that most people were pretty supportive in their own ways. Some didn't like so much the boundaries and belief systems that I was changing. So that more affected some people because I didn't allow them to dictate my beliefs anymore. So that was more of an issue for me than a whole identity change. People were supportive of me. People knew that I was suffering and what I was going through. So they were happy to see that I was a much happier person like I was before the anxiety struck. So yeah, people were happy for me. It was more of an issue whenever it came to changing my beliefs and making boundaries, that I seemed to have more of an issue with a couple people, because they didn't like that no longer was I going to follow their belief system. This was now my belief system.
Interesting. Tell me this. Was there a role model in your head? It doesn't have to be me, but was there somebody that you followed that you said, I want to walk like this person? I need to believe the same things this person believes, act in the same way. I need the same posture, breathing pattern. Was there a role model in your healing, and did it help?
Yes, and you're gonna think I'm lying, but it was you and my mother, because my mother has a heart of gold, and she has such a great mindset,
Mm.
and she's just kind of one of those people that she can just brush anything off, and she believes what she believes, and nobody like can get you know what I mean, like nobody could
Right.
take that away from her.
Right.
And that's a powerful thing. And of course you, and which that is mentioned in my book.
Oh, awesome.
So I'm not
Can't
just saying that because we're on the line right now.
can't wait to read it actually. But do
But
you
yeah,
think
absolutely you.
Yeah. Do you think other people should adopt a role model? Should it's kind of not, there's this term that you hear, it's this fake it till you make it, but that whole faking it thing is very half-hearted. But adopting a role model and kind of following them in the way where you eventually come into your own, is that a good idea?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Even having more than one, like I had two, you can have as many of you. I want the mindset like him. I want to walk and, talk like her, or whatever it might be. You don't have to just have one, I don't believe. But something for you to look for. Like I always told myself in my healing journey, like, what would Dennis do right now? Would Dennis be running from this situation? What would Dennis say to me right now if he was standing right beside me?
Wow. Good questions, right?
Right.
Um, what's a day in your life like now? Morning, afternoon, evening? Are there some things that you do regularly that keeps you in this place of being clear mentally, emotionally neutral and such, and to have your own perspectives? Can you let us know a couple things that you do throughout the day now that just keeps your progress going?
Yeah. In the morning, I always do at least 10 minutes of like meditation time. A lot of times it's still one, do some visualization. Um, Especially if there's something that I feel is like weighing heavily on me, or if I'm feeling like anxious about something, then I'll do like some visualization and some reframing. Um, Throughout the day, a big thing for me is breathing and speed,
Beautiful.
slowing down, because I've always been a fast paced kind of person, and I had to learn, and I still remember myself to slow down, and my breathing, because we all know shallow breathing
Hmm.
is going to activate different things than if you were deep breathing fully. Some call it nose to belly breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, whatever. But so making sure I'm breathing, usually my exhale longer than my inhale, things like that. But those are the main two things throughout the day I look out for. If I'm feeling like anxious throughout the day or something like that, one of those two things usually is the key. I'm moving around too fast, or I'm breathing too shallow.
Hmm.
And then in the evening, usually I have tea, and I usually write, whether it's in a journal or I'm making a blog post for the website or
Hmm.
something like that, because that's something that really seems to like calm me and wind me down.
But you're quite structured, yes? You don't just wing it for the most part.
No, I call it daily maintenance.
Okay. You got it all set up.
Daily maintenance.
All right.
Yeah.
Got
I mean, every day might not be exactly the same, but for the most part, that's what it is. Whether meditation and visualization swapped, or Depends on how I'm feeling or what's going on in my life. Something weighing on me heavily. But yeah, there's always daily maintenance involved.
Girl, you're an inspiration. I just want to finish with this. Reclaimed Identity has just come out, I believe, a couple months ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, from the airing of this podcast. Um, do you feel like you were pulled to write this book, or was it something that you always wanted to do? Tell me about the writing of it, number one, and then, if you can, just to finish off, provide us with one of those lessons from the book. So, were you driven to write this book? Did it come to you? Did some kind of a force say, "Hey, it's time for you to do this"?
Um, I kind of did feel like something was telling me to write it, and I really enjoyed writing it
Mm.
because I kind of started and I wasn't sure if I was ever going to finish it. I wasn't sure if I was ever going to publish it or put it out in the world because I was kind of sketchy on doing that. And I was like, no, whether it helps one person or it helps a million people, it was worth it to me. Like, I enjoyed writing it. Um, so yeah, I do feel like I kind of, something was telling me to write it because I wanted to be able to help people, especially after you helped me. Like, I feel like that's something that I wanted to do for the world. So I was like, I'm just going to do it.
Awesome. I love the title, Reclaimed Identity. And one of the lessons from the book that people can look forward to would be what? Something from the book. Give us a snippet.
I talk a lot about, finding the root causes and learning about mindfulness, responding and reacting, and what the difference is. Um, Mindfulness played a big part in my healing because staying in the moment is really important and not wandering off of something that happened in the past or, you know, something that's about to happen 5 minutes, because the only thing that we can really control is what is right here, right now, in front of us. So that is something that I believe is truly really important because it helped me, the mindfulness and updating the outdated beliefs, um, and trying to get to the root cause. Because a lot of times it's something that we don't even really know about. And I know that that happened with me on my healing journey is I never thought that my anxiety was from what it was really from. So just kind of getting down and deep with yourself and being honest with yourself.
Mm.
The visualization, the slowing down, the breathing. I mean, I touch on all of that inside the book. And so, yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Reclaimedidentity.com is where they can pick up the book, or on Amazon, right?
Right.
Awesome. Is there anywhere else that people can reach out to you?
I have a group on Facebook. It's called Reclaimed Identity Warriors.
Awesome.
I'm also on Instagram for Ashley Eversole. Facebook, just under my normal name.
Fantastic. Any last words for people either starting the journey off, of this healing of the identity, kind of in the middle where it's all messy, or towards the end? Let's focus on the people in the middle where it's just, they're having a good day and they're having a bad day and a good day and a bad day, and things are getting a little complicated. What's your message to those people? Final words.
Stick with it. The healing journey is anything but a linear path. It's a very windy, bumpy road. Real quick, I'll say, pretend you have woods and you drive your quad and you've been driving it on the same route for 10 years. obviously it's all compacted down, right? And and then you decide one day, I'm going to go this way. And you start going that way. There's trees, there's branches, there's grass everywhere, maybe some poison ivy that you got to get rid of. So there's going to be roadblocks. There's going to be bumps. There's going to be humps. There's going to be times of being down, times of being happy. But once you continue to keep taking this path, it's going to get beaten down and the old path is going to get grown over, right?
Beautiful. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Ashley, for joining us today and spreading that love and inspiring people out there. I mean, if I can do it, if Ashley can do it, anybody can do it. She's written a book, for goodness sake, from the darkest days to the brightest days. I'm really proud of you. And I can see from your face that you're proud of yourself and just kind of glowing. And reach out to Ashley, pick up her book, get inspired, get some of the tools that work for Ashley, and let's do this again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much, Dennis.
Fantastic. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for being an important part of the Anxiety Guy podcast community. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a positive rate and review. If you're searching for further support on your road to recovery from anxiety, head over to anxietyexit.com and take part in the powerful End the Anxiety program based around the CBT model. If you're searching for a more one-on-one approach, you can sign up now for personal coaching sessions with Dennis via Skype. Remember, you are more than anxiety. See you in the next episode.